I never knew you in life. Your first life, anyway. You died on a battlefield long before my time. Something special brought us together. They called it the Traveler. And when it arrived, it changed your world forever. It was a golden age. And for centuries, humanity thrived. Until it didn't.
I didn't even know someone with the Traveler's gift could die. Until they did.
Until it didn't.
Oh my god, are you serious? You didn't say that.
An ancient enemy pursued the Traveler across the universe. Humanity faced extinction.
What's going on, everyone? This is Siege, but call me Dan if you'd like, and yes, that was how my introduction to Destiny 2 went. Still hasn't improved because this game is disappointing as fuck. So I decided to start making some videos again. But let's not get off on the wrong foot. First, I hope you've all been well. I can't say what prompted me to start doing YouTube again, considering it's virtually impossible now to make money on this platform, but I have to tell you that I miss being around. So I started brainstorming how I might be able to come back and make the best of the situation. Or maybe it's I'm just upset and need a larger medium to cry to. Could be either, but I'd go with option 2. Now, it has been some time since my last post, where I explained that given what I had seen from early Destiny 2 media, I didn't feel the follow-up to the game I started this channel to cover would satisfy where I felt the franchise should have been headed. Destiny has always had that let me play just one more game aspect to it. And for many of us who have put insane numbers of hours into it, I think that's been the thing that has us always coming back for more, with usually no hesitation to purchase the next DLC. Because of all the new though, I did want to wait a few days to digest what I saw before posting an assessment of where Destiny 2 appears to be heading. Now that I have, I'm just going to tell you right now that if you don't temper your enthusiasm and ease up on all the hype, you're most likely going to be disappointed. I'm going to skip past the whole world without light thing because if it is, it sure doesn't stay that way for very long. Maybe they're insinuating that everyone else doesn't have light, or maybe lose it for a while during the game, but it's obviously not gone. Even if the Traveler is taken, or possibly destroyed, which it could be, we're going to get it from somewhere else, I suppose. It makes me wonder if the Traveler was ever necessary, which also makes much of the Destiny 1 story pretty pointless. So far in the mission and strike we've seen, there's still no tension whatsoever, and the NPCs act the same as before. Ikora and Zavala are still way too stiff, and the Ghost and Cade aren't serious enough. The strike itself was particularly disappointing, as it didn't seem like anything was on the line. Oh, look, it's an oversized Vex again. Let's kill it and move on to the next strike. Nothing really to see here. Now the weapons and armors don't seem changed that much. But I'm just wondering if we're going to see some actual different gun types. Most of what I saw were hand cannons, auto rifles, pulse rifles, scouts. The only major difference being the grenade launchers. An SMG really doesn't act much different than an auto rifle, so I don't count that. What I'm hoping is that, if nothing else, the Crucible isn't an unbalanced mess where certain abilities and weapons completely dominate while others are insignificant. Would it be too much to ask, too, for the bosses to appear to have some type of intelligent AI, instead of just walking around and absorbing any number of shots until they die, with the actual threat coming from the type of light horde mode that spawns all around? Now the leveling system also appears largely unchanged, which is also pretty annoying. A level 20 player cap with, I'm guessing, a 200 light level. That seems to be what I saw at least. The Crucible itself looks a lot slower. And I'm still wondering why the game modes are going to be 4v4. That's the one they said at least. I'm not sure if that's going to be for all the different game modes or just certain ones, but it just seems like a step back in my opinion. I don't know. Now the frame rate being capped at 30 frames per second in a late 2017 game also just seems weird. Now finally, there aren't going to be dedicated servers in Destiny 2, which will most likely keep me from really getting into PvP play again, because the lag and inconsistency from game to game just kept me from enjoying it in Destiny 1. They mentioned that they didn't have the budget for dedicated servers, but I'm sorry, I just can't believe that. With other prominent FPSs supporting it, not to mention that Destiny 1 made over $1 billion. It looks like a glorified DLC in almost every way. It's not to say they haven't added some interesting things, such as clan integration, matchmaking and endgame content, and what appears to be more cinematic missions from the campaign. Not to mention these new Lost sectors, which I'm equating to be like dungeons in many other games, offering special items and loot. As I said before, I feel like this is just an extension of the old game, without the ability to play through the old content once this material gets dry. I don't see tons of innovation, more so just a reskin of Destiny 1.
Ding, ding, ding! What do we have for her, Johnny?
I'm personally more disappointed than anything right now in that I felt like Bungie had the opportunity to go much further in so many different ways. But instead of getting a Taken King style game, new, fresh, and inventive, we're getting more of a Rise of Iron style game with just more of the same thing we've always had.
Until it didn't.
Until they did.
It just doesn't feel anything like a sequel, more like a retcon of the story and a reboot of abilities and weapons because of a poor decision on a game engine that didn't allow them to make new content in an efficient manner. I've mentioned to many of the people that I play with that Destiny 2 seems more like Destiny Light, where all the systems of the previous game were simplified, loot is given so liberally that getting to max light really isn't a major undertaking, especially if you understand the best methods of playing the game, which, oh, by the way, is just do public events over and over and over and over and over and over. Well, to be quite honest, it feels like they sold Destiny 1 back to us with altered visuals. The gameplay feels identical in that there really isn't any new innovation, save for one new ability for each character class. Now, this is probably the only part of Destiny 2 I favor over the original game. The new ability for the Warlock and Titan. The Hunter actually got screwed in that they didn't even get a new ability. Rather, they were just given Shade Step from the original Night Stalker class across all their subclasses. Whoa. Amazing ingenuity here. Now, the token reward system is boring and lifeless. PvP is a hollow reimagining of its predecessor, typically turning each match into a team shooting disaster, which is even more maddening if you're solo queuing. The planets feel lifeless and empty. The strikes are completely pointless to run and are carbon copies of older strikes in function at least. Basically, this was as bad as I thought it could get. Even the raid is, well, it's not really worth playing more than one time. Now, if this was a $40 or even $60 expansion of Destiny 1, I'd probably be a lot more forgiving and might even say it was an adequate offering overall. But as a standalone sequel, well, I'm sorry, this game is nowhere near acceptable. For those of you foaming at the mouth right now saying, well, it is much better than vanilla Destiny, I'm not even going to agree with you there. I think both base games did things better and worse than each other. And at this point, I'm inclined to say it's really a wash between the two. What makes Destiny 2 worse, for me at least, is that they had this blueprint and 3 years of trial and error to get this launch correct. And yet, the state in which we saw the game right at launch is pretty depressing. Now they want you to buy the new expansion to enjoy the fixes that they are promising to make, which is, incredibly out of touch. Think of it this way. Imagine you went to a appliance store and bought, say, a stove. And when you got it home, essentially, it wasn't finished. There were all kinds of things on it that didn't necessarily function correctly like you wanted to. They sort of worked, but at the same time they didn't. Would you be okay with the company just saying, hey, look, we got fixes coming on the way? You know, they'll be there. You know, just all you need to do is just buy this little upgrade and it'll fix all the stuff that was wrong with your original appliance. No, you would not. You'd probably try to get your money back if that's what you felt had to happen. Let me make this clear. I did everything I could to attempt to make myself feel satisfied. Finally, I just gave up. Maybe you love the game, and if so, that's great. This is my own personal opinion on the matter, but keep in mind that it's one that was made with a mountain of personal research, so unfortunately, you're going to have to deal with it. Anywho, what this development will allow is for me to branch out a little bit with my videos. No longer do I feel inclined to play just Destiny because, quite frankly, there isn't enough Destiny to play anymore. There's no reason to delve into the lore because I don't even think Bungie knows what the lore is. They tell us that Destiny 1 isn't necessarily canon to Destiny 2, and yet all of the plot threads seem to be driven directly from Destiny 1 lore. The problem is there's no real way to tell what's good from Destiny 1 and what isn't, so why bother? They even decided to completely mimic Dark Souls and Bloodborne's method of adding lore to all the gear so that you can, you know, kind of like see lore from different pieces that you collect. However, they screwed that up with the fact that the vaults only hold 200 items. So it's not like you can go back and read through the lore once you've collected everything. You could, I suppose, make a spreadsheet with all the information and then just delete the items, like, you know, making your own codex. But isn't that Bungie's job? Then again, the campaign story is so poorly put together, with multiple plot MacGuffins, cringy dialogue, immersion-breaking cutscenes, countless Star Wars references, and an ending that makes the entire story meaningless. Ask yourself something, and this is a spoiler alert for all who haven't finished the story yet. If the Traveler could just resurrect itself at any time, what was the point of the journey in the first place? Like, why did we have to do anything? At any point, it could have just awoken and took out Gaul. So why did we have to go to all the planets and get all the Vanguard back together? And doesn't everything that we're seeing here also cheapen the story from Destiny 1? After all, the Guardians were born in its dying breath. Or would that be sleeping breath now? And the conflict of remnants of the Traveler's power being able to defend humanity is the actual story of Destiny 1. So now what we're saying is at any given time, the Traveler could have just woken up. So what was the point of resurrecting Guardians in the first place? Given all that and much more that totally failed in this game, I'm using it as a way to open the channel up for some other content. Maybe a little bit more laid-back approach even. I'm not saying I won't get into the lore. Certain things may pique my interest enough to post a video about. I'm not going to stop playing Destiny 2 either, as unfortunately I pre-ordered the expansions, so I'm obligated to see them through, considering there is no refund policy at this point that I can find, at least. However, expect to see a lot more videos that include other games, most notably Warframe, which is the best thing I've played in a long time. As well as older and newer titles I feel are worthy to showcase and even do some speculating about. Overall, though, I want to keep a nice, loose vibe with future content. Hopefully this will be something you're interested in sticking around to see, but if not, hey, no hard feelings. I'll be here if you change your mind in the future, okay? With that being said, I hope you all have a great day. Try not to salt the Destiny forums too hard today, but definitely make your disappointment known if that's how you feel. At any rate, take care all. It's good to be back, and I'll talk at you later. Bye.